It is another brilliant fall morning here in Brenkrug Village, and we can see a couple of incoming activities here. Welcome back to Penguin Pete Plays, the podcast that melts in your mouth, not in your hand. And I'm playing Book of Hours, which is going to be testing my sanity quite a bit. This is kind of sort of a half playthrough, half tutorial from the first couple lessons there. If you don't want any spoilers from this point, you're really better off playing this, but it really does play like a good mystery. It's just right down to the interface. You have these cryptic symbols, they mean occult stuff. You gotta match this up with that. But first off, let's see who's in our inbox today. An advertisement from catering here. Okay, that starts showing up right before the trust sends you money. Oh yeah, what's happening in the world beyond Brandkrug? What visitors will the season bring? Looks like I'm going to get somebody who's going to tutor me in a language. Our mission today, and we're going to accept it, is to forge ahead and open up the main library area over here. The game's kind of a pain in the butt until you reach that point. After that, the game kind of settles into a kind of second gear. At the same time, we may pop up in some very useful rooms and tools up in this area today, but let's see how far we get. My first plan is to get Mrs. Kiln. Let's see here. That's great. She'll work for us for free. And we're going to use her to open a room. Now that we have Chore, we can burst to her up to 3. And this requires 5 heart. I'm assuming you followed the series up until now. And we're attempting some kind of speed run here, I guess. Alright. This is easy enough. We've got this stuff right here. This gives her 2 heart. There we are. That pops her up to 5. Hallelujah. Once we get in that room, you're going to see we have a very useful tool in there, I believe. Alright, this guy here can wait for a minute. We're not done with the day. You'll notice you keep track of the calendar there. Visitors leave after, of course, sunset. There we are. Alright, now we can talk to him. Can he teach us any languages? Tutoring Vac, yes, the title will say there, if this guy can teach us a language. There's a bunch of symbols down here. You can interpret them and read through them one at a time. Generally, long story short, if we just pop any spinter in there with a visitor and he knows a language that you don't know yet, go ahead and get it. Not only will that help you read a book, but it'll also give you a couple of extra little influences over here on the skill tree. It does take its time though, so. Alright. This is the room. There's the knife right there. And that is a tool that you can give to guests to wield, which will give 2 nectar, 1 grail, 1 edge, and 1 winter. It's an amazing tool. And tools are reusable, so you can use this over and over again. You can use it to crack books, you can use it to lend to guests so that they'll have the right influence to do a job in the room. It slices and dices. It gives 4 different magic influences. Well worth opening that room on its own. Plus, we're at the basement of what's going to be, I believe, the grand staircase there. Another interesting thing about this room is the packages. This guy's cool. I always leave him there. Pigeon statue. This could be useful later in doing moon rituals. This is Moth. That's a workstation piano, by the way. You use it to play Limited drinking cocoa packet. Golly. 2 Grail. Grail is so easy to get from beverages, you might as well toss this stuff. There it is. I know VAC. Not only that, but I now have... Oh, wow. VAC has 2 knock and 1 rose. Not an easy influence to come by in the opening game. In fact... Let me test a theory here. I got a theory. Yep, I'm sure I do. Which one of these hags has... There it is. There. Can you actually use that as a skill? I'm a match for this book, so even though I don't need to speak VAC to read this, I can still use it as a skill in reading another book that needs mystery knock for it. Oh, that's so elite. I love discovering this crazy stuff. Here. Alright. That was an efficient use of her day, wasn't it? What does that give? 2 Grail. Like I say, Grail is so easy to get from everything, especially beverages. It's almost not even worth it. We're around the corner from opening up just bottles of wine. We find them in rooms later, so we can afford to splash this stuff around. Hand it out like hotel shampoo. There we go. Aha. Alright, now you notice that the change of the seasons, we're in autumn right now. And you'll also notice that this room here needs 3 knock or 3 rose. And, long story short, I'm waiting for a foggy day. Whenever you have a fog weather card, that has 3 knock, if I recall. This has rain. 2 Grail, there it is again, Grail. Grail is so plentiful. I don't think I need anything like that. That's obviously not it. Yeah, so there's little areas where you get into some bottlenecks. Later on, this is kind of a hard bridge to cross over here. These channels going underground and this channel going across to this tower. But that comes later. Let's see what kind of skill we get out of this. Alright, that's 1 moth and 1 nectar in that book. Is now red. Red books I will have a better plan for as soon as we open up our bookcases over there. Oh, thanks a lot, guys. I love it when you open a package and find another package in there. Did your siblings ever play that Christmas prank on you, or is that just my family? Oh, well. Speak of the devil, there's some wine. The Ravelines abandoned their lands, and yet someone is still making this wine. I love this game. Domain Raveline, and it's, yeah, there it is, 2 Grail. 2 Grail, 1 scale. Yeah, I barely care, anyway. But, as long as we get... You'll notice there's hardly any rooms that need Grail to open them, so... Anyway, it's there if we want it. What are we to do? We'll learn this lesson for one thing. What is this? off on our soul fragments. I keep wanting to say skull fragments. Guys, if you've been following my playthrough, this is like part 4, so I explained this whole spiderweb of craziness in a previous episode here. Does this go anywhere? Yeah. Oh, not only that, it gives me a soul fragment that I didn't have yet. Alright, that is the one with 1 moth and 2 rows. So I'm filling in on rows now. I believe I can also get... No. Nah. Worth a shot. You can also hover over one of these spots and it'll blink any card that'll fit there. This has to do with establishing links between skills and soul fragments, which lets you upgrade both over time. It's a cryptic game to figure out. I'll be the first to admit it. Alright. How about this tool we had up here? What does it give to? Nectar? Nectar's nowhere here to be found. That is Edge and Winter and Heart. Even the moth isn't really going to do us much good. Oh. You know, some days the weather works against you. Like I said, we're waiting on Knock right now to just come out of that fog, although, you know, it's possible for me to get something. This is 2 Knock. What could I have guessed? Tools don't really carry a lot of Knock. Oh, this coffee? Ah, perfect. I can get anybody to open that anytime I want to, and I had to wait for fog. I'm just waiting for the day to pass down. Refresh so I can hire a visitor to open more rooms. Ah! Hey, that's a lot of heart. That's great. That's literally what it's called, too, heart. Make all the Care Bears jokes you want. Anyway, we're going to summon her with Grail. Because, you see, she has Grail and heart at the same time. Whereas her husband has Winter and Sky. I was going to try to save the Gale for something else. I mean, I could give her a drink and boost her heart too, but yeah. Let her be qualified to open the first time. I'm really just interested in getting these things jimmied open anywhere I can. So for those of you who played Weather Factory's other big game that they're really famous for, that was Cultist Simulator, where you kind of play the same kind of card and clock structure as this. These are called burps, so I call them clocks. You know, they're like little time clocks that take different times for different actions to complete. And that's a mechanic that's familiar from all of Weather Factory's games. However, the big difference between this one and Cultist Simulator feels like a live-action play H.P. Lovecraft novel. And Book of Hours feels more like Sherlock Holmes. It really does. Want to see a secret? I'm going to examine this couch. There you go. And it gave me a bronze Spintra. This is from an auction. Okay, I was ignoring this. You can buy books at auction using Spintra. I am way more interested in buying languages from visitors with Spintra right now. And Lord knows I'm opening up this place and getting enough books. While I was speaking of secrets, I forgot this one. Yeah, that's a rock. That doesn't even do anything till later. Now then. That is another 4 heart. Here, let me go ahead. Now this guy does not work for free, so you gotta pay him. Oh yeah, before I forget, since I have this penny, here's yet another trick. This is how you just generate quick memories from a penny. There it is. You don't need a soul fragment for that. Amazingly enough. I'll just give you quick memory. That was also the Moth 1 impulse. You get something different if you chuck anything else off there. Back to this guy. Here, we'll talk to him about Shaft. And again, once I've exalted him, it doesn't even matter if it is after night, it'll still work for you. But now I can open this. And you can see why this wasn't a big priority. There ain't nothing useful almost in here right now. A lot of it's just comfort items in case you're trying to crack a book. Blah blah. I hardly touch this room. There's also a plant you can like examine, and you don't consume this particular plant. It's right next to that coin couch. Which, by the way, that trick only works once, of course. So you know, shook the sofa cushions and found a bronze Spintra. Anyway, and that gives you green memory, nectar scent. Gosh! There we are, that's a full day. Let's go for dawn here. It comes in really handy to generate extra memories on the spot. There you go, there's one that needs nectar. And I can literally hire anybody for this. Oh wow, especially since I have nectar weather. Yeah, the sound effects in this thing. Alright, that's 4. What do we got over here? 4 heart. Yeah, I can do this. few rooms up and up. This stairwell's mostly empty space. There's supposed to be a bit of a statue puzzle thing you put together here in the alcoves along the stairwell, you see. I'm just waiting for dawn right there. And you can see who else we can open up. Clouds won't be much help. Here. Do I have a plan? What do I have there? Man, a moth isn't really going to help much. We're starting to need lantern dude again, but we still don't have frost anywhere. Frost is a soul fragment. In fact, I think that's the only one we're missing out of the 9. We do have something will give us a frost skill, and we have this. That's a tool. And then, where else do we have lantern? Not a single one of our skills have lantern. That's the whole problem. Yeah, so that's kind of a bottleneck. Eventually we'll probably get some rooms open first. But anyway. Okay, we've been going about half an hour here, so we're going to pause this for now. And say we concluded this lesson, but I'm trying to keep these short little playthroughs. See you again in part 5. We're just going to blast the rest of this open. Right here is the main bookshelves, and that's going to be so much more helpful to this next point. Hopefully you're gleaning some idea of the pattern of this game now, because it's really elementary when you come down to this part. See you next time.